What is up, everybody? Justice is a process here, and we are here to answer the question and look into a question in the Nick Reiner case, which is the unaliving deaths of his parents, very famous director Rob Reiner, and his mother. And the question is, and there are reports coming out, and we're going to get into what these reports are. And there's an article, exclusive article that we've put out on Justice as a Process. I'd encourage you all to go over and look at it. It's linked in this description. Basically saying there are reports coming out that uh, Nick Reiner's mom was alive when she was found by her daughter and identified him as the killer. And that would be huge. That's a dying declaration. That's massive. And we're going to talk about that right now. And we're going to break it down and we're going to get into the events as well that were going on that led up to this. And we're going to talk about this and figure out if this is true or not. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. All right, so here we have it, guys. Did Michele Reiner, the mother of Nick Reiner, identify her killer and identify her son as her killer? We're going to get into the specifics here of what the claim is. Right now, there's a couple of sources. One of them being, now this is unconfirmed by authorities, that Billy Bush went on air with the following account. I heard that the son, Nick, went into his parents' stabbed both mom and dad, and that the daughter, I guess, lives on the property or at the house or in the back house, and that she found them, and that the mom was still alive. And apparently, she called an ambulance and went in the ambulance with her mother. Michele died in the ambulance, but had enough time to tell her daughter that it was Nick, their son, who did the crime. Also, Showbiz 411's Roger Friedman reported a similar account from an anonymous source close to the family. And according to that source, when Romy found her parents, Rob Reiner was already passed away, but Michele was still alive. And you're going to hear why this right now, the official account, I have the official account. We have it laid out as a timeline. We're going to get into that and why this is something that would absolutely change everything. Because it would mean that Michele Reiner was alive for potentially hours inside that house. She allegedly told her daughter, "He left us here for dead." This is accurate. That would be a dying declaration. That would mean she could testify against her son. That could be brought into court. Now, it appears this case is headed for mental defense, and that's again uh, Alan Jackson, and you all may know Alan Jackson from the Karen Reed case, is his attorney, and he said this is a very complicated case. Um, and this is a big deal. And it's a big deal because, like I said, it's a dying declaration. Now, we get into this in the article. Go over to the website, check it out. We get in more detail over there. I'm not going to read the article to you. But Nick Reiner, just to introduce you to things here, he is charged with 2 counts of first-degree unaliving. He's currently at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility being held on no bond. And that's significant because the Twin Towers Correctional Facility is actually the world's largest mental health facility and mental health hospital. So that is a very, very significant fact in how this case will probably be handled. Now, we're going to go in and check out uh, as I said, we have give me one moment here. We have a complete timeline now up of this case. So let's go through here what happened. If you're not familiar with this case, I'm sure you are. Everybody is, unless you've been cut off somehow from the news. But the key players in this case: Rob Reiner, director, actor, power player in politics and acting in Hollywood. His wife Michele Singer Reiner. You've got Nick Reiner, who's now the defendant. Romy Reiner, the daughter who found them. Jake Raymer, their other son. Alan Jackson, and then L.A. District Attorney Nathan Hochman. What you need to understand about this case is Nick Reiner and Rob had a long history, unfortunately, of having problems with substance abuse. The Rainers invested heavily in putting him into drug treatment centers, and unfortunately, it wasn't working. He was homeless in New Jersey. He was homeless in Texas. He spent weeks sleeping in the streets, but the Reiners never gave up on him. And Rob Reiner was dedicated to his family and dedicated to his son. And that's what makes this extremely sad. Dedicated to the point that, as you're going to find out, the final night of his life, he brought his son to Conan O'Brien's Christmas party strictly because he wanted to keep an eye on him because he was so worried about his son. And something happened there that may have led to the events that occurred hours later. They made a movie, in fact, about the struggles that they've had as a family with Nick Reiner's substance abuse issues, called Being Charlie. I've seen the movie; it's a good movie. You should watch it. And it's about the turbulent relationship between a son and a famous dad, and navigating substance abuse issues and things like that. The last public outing that they had as a family was at Spinal Tap 2 premiere, where they all appeared as a family and they appeared on the red carpet. There's pictures all over the press for it. Now, getting into the timeline of events so that you can understand what's going on here, and you can contrast this with what these reports are coming out that allegedly Michele Reiner identified her son, and what this would mean based on what the believed timing of events are of when this incident happened and occurred. Meaning she would be in that home for hours. That's terrible to think that these people were, that both of them were suffering for hours in that home, but that appears to be the potential possibility. So Saturday, December 13th, Nick, Rob, Michele, they go to a Christmas party at Conan O'Brien's. Now, while Nick's at this party, he's exhibiting what the people there are calling antisocial behavior, staring at guests, repeatedly asking people the same question: what's your name? What's your last name? And are you famous? He even has a confrontation with comedian Bill Hader from Saturday Night Live that results in Nick giving him, quote unquote, a death stare. And it's after that that a very loud argument occurs between Nick and his father, Rob. And they ultimately end up leaving the party because of this argument. Around 4 a.m., surveillance footage shows Nick walking on the Santa Monica Pier, heading towards the Pierside Santa Monica Hotel. He gets to the hotel, he checks in at 4:15 a.m., and people describe him as tweaking out in the lobby. Now, we don't know what happens after that. It's unclear, except that later that morning, late morning, the hotel staff discovers blood in the hotel room. They discover he's not checked out of the room, but he's not in the room. They discover a shower full of blood, blood on the bed, and a window covered with bed sheets. What this tells us is the Rainers are already, if he's the one responsible, and it appears he is, the Rainers are already passed away, or this act has already been done, and he returned to the hotel. Now, one significant thing is at 4:15 a.m., when he arrives at the hotel, he has no signs of blood, no signs of any, having been involved in any violent altercation. So that means that when he arrived, nothing had happened, and he must have left the hotel at some point. Now, it's unclear. There's not been surveillance footage or anything of how he would have got back to the residence or what would have happened. So this is something that remains to be seen as this thing is developing, especially significant in California. If you understand, it's actually a quite complicated process, because you actually have two phases of trial when you have a mental health defense. And the first phase is you have to actually, you prove guilt. You can even you prove, they have to prove you guilty of the crime. You can raise a mental health defense, or in terms of intent. And then after they're found guilty, there's a second phase that even if you're found guilty, you can still be found not guilty by reason of insanity, because then you get to bring in the experts. But there's a significant factor here that if he left his parents' house and he returns from the hotel, that could negate any type of mental health defense and be seeing that somebody is you can't say someone didn't know what they were doing if they travel miles away and turn around and go back, and this wasn't involved in some sort of situation. Now, we don't know what is going on here. We don't know what his mental health diagnosis will be or anything like that, but it's significant that it appears he went to the hotel and then returned, and we'll see how that plays out. Approximately 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when the massage therapist arrives, who normally would come over on Sundays. Great life, that's when you have the money, man. That's what your Sunday's about. massage therapy's there, or massage therapist is coming over. She can't access. They don't answer. She reaches out to Romy Reiner, who then comes over to the house, checks on them, and finds her father passed away. Now, in the official reports that's being put around in the official channels, um, she finds her father, she flees, and her roommate calls 911. And then Billy Crystal is called, the actor Billy Crystal, who's who here of Hollywood, and he rushes to the scene, and he's the one who actually goes in and observes that both Rob and his wife are in there. And allegedly, she's then informed that her mother is also in there, and she's very upset. Now, around 3:40, they officially begin the death investigation, which then eventually escalates to a red rum investigation, a criminal investigation. Senior law enforcement around 7:30. Senior law enforcement confirmed to ABC News that the victims were stabbed to death. At 9 p.m., surveillance footage captures Nick, and this is footage that we have in another article. Pictures of him at the Arco gas station, and actually here, let me see if I can. I've got at the Arco gas station, and he is there. He goes in and buys like a drink. In fact, I can show this to you. Let me see if I can get this up. All right, so I have the video here. So, like I said, he's at the Arco gas station. This is actual footage of him at the gas station and him arrested. So we're taking a look at this here. Watch this. We don't have sound here to this. I was unable. This did not come to me with sound. There he is. He's walking in. That's him walking in. I'll navigate what this is. He's in the gas station. That is Nick Reiner in the gas station right now, walking around. You're watching him go purchase a beverage, and then you're going to see him walk out. And this is all happening at 9:15 on Sunday. There he is buying his, and again, you can think of this as this is his final beverage. This is the final thing he'll ever probably do as a free guy. He's walking out and he takes off walking across. And I guess I'm assuming maybe the credit card transaction triggered it or something, but there you can see they figured out he was there and they get him up and they take him down. He's put down and arrested. So that is the moment that Nick Reiner was arrested, and that's obviously a significant moment there in the investigation because he's taken into custody. Now he's not right away taken to Twin Towers jail. Apparently, he's taken to LAPD robbery homicide. They at around 1 a.m. LA robbery homicide finally gets to the Pierside Hotel, and they searched room 207, and they figure out that they're looking for the weapon that could have been used because that has not been located. Okay, and that's significant because we're all assuming there's a mental health defense. Question is, what happened here? Did he do it, or did he go to this hotel, or did someone? Yeah, I think he did it, but the weapon's never been found, and that's a significant piece here that is always present when the burden of proof is present. That they have to prove it. They have to go to court and prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. And a lot of people don't understand that, and there's a big difference between the media and the assumptions that are made at the stage of a case like this, where there's a lot of press, and then what happens in the actual courtroom. But they figure out that they go in and they see, process the room. At 5:04 a.m., Nick Reiner is officially booked on red rum charges. And then he's moved to the Twin Towers Correctional Facility. Now, that's significant because the Twin Towers Correctional Facility, as I said earlier, is a mental health facility. It's the largest mental health hospital. It's considered to be the largest mental health hospital in the United States. 40% of its occupants have mental health issues. There's 17,000 prisoners at that facility, and 40% of them have mental problems. And as you're going to see here, there's been delay. There was a delay in his court appearance, and then there was a delay in his arraignment, indicating that very likely he was under some sort of mental health crisis when he arrived. At around 9 a.m., the Monday morning, Jim McDonald, LAPD chief, confirms Nick's arrest at a press conference. And he states that they had worked through the night and determined Nick was responsible. Now, my concern, of course, always is the quickness of this stuff. Now, having now understood the timeline and understanding, what they were seeing, I understand why they would have taken him into custody at this point. I mean, I think they have enough to hold him on suspicion. And then, this is a shocking thing. Michelle Obama goes on to say that she and Barack Obama were supposed to meet Rob Reiner on the day for dinner on the day they were found. So that's Sunday. He was going to be meeting with former President Obama. I mean, that just tells you that the magnitude of the man that was passed away. On Tuesday, December 16th, attorney Nathan Hochman announces that formally he's charged him because he was booked on suspicion. And then finally, the LA County District Attorney's Office had reviewed the entire case and they decided to charge him, meaning they believe they have evidence that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that Nick Reiner is guilty of these charges. Because remember, believe it or not, there is a speedy trial right in this country. It's not oftentimes never used in Florida, never used in California. And we went right out of the box in this case, things getting waived. But technically speaking, he has a right to go to trial within the next 60 days. And they have to be ready. That's part of the reason why the district attorney's office says before we formalize and charge, we need to make sure we're in possession that if we were pushed to trial in the next 60 days, we got to know we can get it done. And apparently they believe it. He was charged also with not just first degree, but first degree with special circumstances, meaning there were multiple deaths and he used a deadly weapon, that weapon being a knife. Then that afternoon, the legal world goes wild when Alan Jackson confirms he's been retained. Everybody's question on hand is we know Alan Jackson does not do things for free. We know he does things for a pretty penny. And we know that he's represented the likes of Harvey Weinstein or however you want to say it, Kevin Spacey, Karen Reed. Now we know Karen Reed, he did pro bono, but he only afford to do that so many times. Although I think at first he was getting paid handsomely. But obviously it's cases like these that pay the bills that he got that notoriety and now he's cashing in. So Wednesday is the big day. We covered this on the website. Nick Reiner makes his first appearance in court, and you saw the drawing earlier of Nick Reiner in court. Blue anti-unaliving vest, no shirt underneath. His hands and feet are shackled. The judge says he can't be videotaped. He appears quiet and calm, and he only says 3 words, "Yes, Your Honor," when he was asked if he was okay with waiving the plea. No plea was entered. Arraignment was postponed to January 7th, so we're going to wait through the holidays. And he's ordered held without bond until that time. Outside the courtroom, Alan Jackson speaks the word, saying there are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. And he asked for the system to move forward in a way that it was designed and not rush to judgment. And that is important. That is important. We think we know what happened. We don't know what happened. And it's extremely important right now to understand that regardless of what we think, regardless of what we know, and regardless of what's been leaked or given to the press, Nick Reiner is presumed innocent right now. He is as innocent as you and I are of this crime right now until that trial happens, until they make a showing to 12 jurors who make the determination that, yes, the state is in possession of evidence, proof beyond a reasonable doubt of his guilt. LA County, that afternoon, the LA County medical examiner does confirm the cause of death was basically multiple sharp force injuries, meaning they were stabbed to death. We already kind of knew that. And then Jake and Romy Reiner released a joint statement saying, "Words cannot even begin to describe the unimaginable pain we are experiencing every moment of the day." I can't imagine it myself. The horrific and devastating loss of our parents, Rob and Michele Reiner, is something no one should ever experience. They weren't just our parents; they were our best friends because they were very, very close with their parents. And again, first degree, special circumstances, 2 special circumstances, maximum sentence of death. Although there's a moratorium on the death penalty in California right now. Most likely it would be life without the possibility of parole. And given that the Reiners were not in favor of the death penalty, I do believe that's what I've been hearing. I think that probably they would, any judge out there would probably respect the victims, and so would the DA, district attorney's office, especially being that this is their family member as well. It's tough enough as it is, and with the mental health component, you'd like to think so, that they would do that. So, of course, like I said, there's lots of questions. Nick's at the hotel, 4:15, no blood. Hotel room's full of blood later on when they find it. DA Hockman has already signaled that mental health is going to be central to the case. He's being kept at Twin Towers, the mental health, the nation's largest mental health facility or hospital. His own attorney, Alan Jackson, is telling us there's complex issues. Obviously there's evidence. What physical evidence connects Nick to the crimes? You've got a hotel room full of blood. You've got no weapon recovered. So, there's problems in the case right now that are still investigative things that need to be, unless there was a confession, they've still got to go to court and show he did it. We're all assuming things, but they've got to link it. And I'm sure they will. But, and then you've got the substance abuse question. What was he using? What was he on something? People said he was tweaked out in the hotel lobby. He was acting oddly at the party. What was his state of mind? Because state of mind is important, and especially informing what. And the state of mind there's a legal term for it. It's called mens rea. You have the men, and again, it's talking about what was his state of mind. What was his level of intent? Could he form the mens rea to be guilty of the crime of first-degree unaliving, second-degree unaliving? In other words, did he know what he was doing, and had he formulated the intent? Was he aware? And if he wasn't, if something was blocking, that can be a defense. Now, being under the influence of something is not necessarily going to be recognized as a defense, not as a complete defense, but it can mitigate, and it can be the difference between, say, first degree and second degree. So there's a lot of factors that are going to come into play here, and then there's the death penalty question. So we wait now for January 7th to find out what is going to happen. And we go back here to, again, this question right here. That's Nick Reiner as he's in court. Everything changes if we find out, especially that the mom identified him. And what did the mom say if she said that? If that's what happened, if Michele Reiner actually turned in her son. And then there's a question everyone has said, why would they hire Alan Jackson? Who hired Alan Jackson for him? Somebody had to have. This kid, there's also something that hasn't been addressed, and we're going to address it, I think, in another subsequent post. It's called the Slayer Law. And what that basically means is that if you kill someone, if someone cannot inherit something from someone they killed. And also, and it doesn't even require criminal conviction. They can go through probate court and do it civilly. And if a judge finds that there's, by preponderance of evidence, that it's likely that this person caused the death, they can be blocked from the estate, and that estate will be divided then between the two brothers, and the brother and the sister. The question then becomes, what did they say? If the mom was alive, did she say, take care of Nick? Did she say, he did this? Make sure, he's taken care of. And again, not obviously he can't be trusted to be out among, walking among us, but is that why there was an attorney hired? Is that why Alan Jackson is now involved in this case? And again, we don't know. We're gonna find out eventually. We hope. But it's a very, very interesting situation. So let's go in here. This was when we announced we've got all sorts of coverage on here. I'm trying to go back and find, there's one in here I want to look at to show you the Twin Towers jail facility that he is at. And it's quite interesting here. Give me a moment. We'll go back to the, I may have to go into the archive. It may have already been archived. Let's see here. Possible choice, cause of death confirmed. I think it's in the archive. So anytime like I said, there's 10 articles on the front page, and then it all comes here, and you can see the coverage. We've given a large amount of coverage. Let's see here. I think it's this one right here. Yes, there it is. So this is the court scene when they were in court, what happened in court. They appeared in court. It was a short court appearance. That's Alan Jackson outside. And there it is. That is the new home of Nick Reiner. Let me tell you something. I guarantee you right now that young man is regretting ever doing what he did now, or at least he will be once he sobers up and he realizes that, you know what, life has changed forever. It will never be the same. It was the dumbest decision he could have ever made doing this to his parents. And they say this kid was a spoiled brat, didn't appreciate anything that his parents did for him. Well, he's certainly going to regret that, decision now. He's going to learn that life's going to be quite different now for him. Um, so, I, it's sad. Again, I have, as you guys will learn when we go through my dad's history, I have experience, unfortunately, with substance abuse, with having a family member who has a substance abuse issue. It's heartbreaking. It's terrible. It's something that takes over and causes people to do things that they absolutely regret. I think, deep down at least. But and in this case, this is the extreme disaster side of things. And I'm sure the Rainers never thought in a million years that this is where that their life would end the way it did. And it's extremely tragic that it has. But our thoughts have to be, with the surviving children, and hopefully they figure out a way to get through the sadness of what will never be the same. The holidays will never be the same for them. My wife's kind of going through that now. Her father just passed away a few weeks ago, and this holiday, she lost her mother earlier this year, and she lost her father. So it's tough. It's very sad. But top of the thing here, again, like we talked about with the Brown shooting video, this is the moment that we must, just like Alan Jackson said, the system is designed to deal with this. It is, this is the moment, and Rob Reiner would want that. This is the moment that we step up and we make sure that Nick Reiner's due process rights are respected, and that this process plays out fairly and correctly and constitutionally. And that is what makes us better than someone like Nick Reiner, who took out his parents the way he did. That's what makes us better than the Brown shoe. We don't deprive people of their rights. We respect their rights, even when you've done a horrible thing, even when you've done something that would qualify as some of the worst behavior, imaginable. That's the moment that we separate ourselves from them. So keep that in mind, guys. Again, we are Justice is a Process. Go check out the website. We just launched the website last week. It's been something we've been working on now for a couple of months. It is a place that you can go and find everything. This video will be linked to the latest article up there, and you'll be able to find it. Go to the YouTube channel as well. Obviously, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed. We broadcast daily, bring you trials we will be covering if it's available to stream. And you never know in California that sometimes they give you full access to our trial. Sometimes it's like with the Maya Hernandez case, you get opening and closings and a verdict. We will be there with whatever they show us. We will be there watching. It is important that we do that. That is the mission. That is what we must do, because that is what separates us. That's what separates our country from everyone else. We have the presumption of innocence. We have the burden of proof. And we do not allow our government to take anybody's rights or anyone's right to freedom, right to liberty, right to happiness away without going through the trial process and without proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and 12 citizens sitting in that box making that determination that, yes, the government is in possession of that evidence. And that's what we await for Nick Reiner, and we will see if they do. I'm quite certain that this will not be a case of did he do it? It'll be why he did it. But maybe he will. You never know. These things play out in crazy ways. But he has a right to even ask the government to just simply show me your evidence and let me ask questions about it. And right now there are some questions. I don't know that defense would go great, especially if the blood found in his shower matches his parents and he's the one that checked into the room. You know, I I really can't imagine that that's going to be the direction his defense is going to go. And given that he's sitting at the Twin Towers Correctional, but crazier things have happened. But listen, it's important right now, guys. We keep an open mind. We respect the presumption of innocence, and we do that from throughout. We will be reporting on this case. We will be updating to you. We will be updating the website as this thing plays out over the next few weeks, months, and potentially years. In the meantime, guys, let justice prevail, and I will talk to you soon.
The system's rigged, man, it's time to break free. Eyes wide open, gotta see what I see. Standing on the front lines, fighting for the truth. Lift the veil of lies, it's time to be the proof. Take a stand, don't you back down. Raise your voice, let's shake the town. We're the voices that won't be ignored. Breaking chains, yeah, we're ready.